I was 12 when my mother decided my childhood was over and my career had officially begun. And I can still feel the blinding heat of those ring lights burning into my retinas while she screamed at me for not looking happy enough as I opened a package of skincare products I was allergic to. You think you know what it's like to have a stage mom, but imagine your entire identity being curated, filtered, and sold to the highest bidder before you even hit puberty, all while the person who is supposed to protect you is the one holding the camera and counting the likes. My mother didn't just want me to be famous. She wanted me to be her retirement plan, and when I finally broke the silence and exposed the truth behind the perfect family we portrayed online, she told me I was dead to her. Was I wrong for destroying her livelihood to save my own sanity? Or would you have let your own mother sell your soul for a sponsorship deal? Please tell me if I'm the villain here, because for years, the internet told me I was a princess while behind the scenes, I was a prisoner in a house made of glass and gold. To understand how we got to that point, you have to understand my mom, Elena. She was beautiful, charismatic, and deeply insecure about the life she had settled for as a suburban housewife. When I was born, she didn't see a baby. She saw a second chance at the fame she never achieved. She used to tell me stories about how she almost made it as a model in her 20s, and how she gave it all up for me. A guilt trip she started laying on me before I could even tie my own shoes. By the time I was 5, I was in pageants, standing on stages with hairspray stinging my eyes while she gestured wildly from the wings, mouth syncing the answers I was supposed to give to the judges. If I didn't win, the ride home was silent and cold. If I did win, she'd take photos of the trophy and post them online, soaking up the praise from strangers. By 7, she had started my first Instagram account. And that's when the content became our religion. This was back when kidfluencers were just becoming a thing. And she realized very quickly that a cute blonde girl with a bubbly personality was a goldmine for brands. At first, it was just fun outfits and the occasional dance video, but as the follower count climbed, the fun disappeared entirely. Our house turned into a film set where every room was decorated for the camera, not for living. We had a white room that was strictly for filming. I wasn't allowed to walk in there with shoes, and God forbid I left a toy on the floor. I wasn't allowed to eat my breakfast until she had photographed it from 5 different angles. And if the lighting wasn't right, I'd have to sit there staring at cold pancakes for 20 minutes while she adjusted the blinds. I remember crying because I was hungry, and she would just hiss at me to stop making my eyes puffy because we had a brand deal to shoot at noon and the client expected perfection. My entire education was secondary. She pulled me out of traditional school because the schedule was too rigid for our filming opportunities. I was homeschooled, which really meant I sat with a tutor for an hour a day and spent the rest of the time being her unpaid employee. As I entered middle school, the pressure became unbearable because my body was changing, and to my mom, that was a marketing hurdle. She started monitoring every calorie I consumed, weighing me every single morning before I was even allowed to drink water. She'd tell me that nobody wants to see a bloated influencer, and she would spend hours editing my photos to make my waist smaller or my eyes brighter. I started to develop an eating disorder that she actively encouraged, calling it discipline. I started to lose track of what I actually looked like in the mirror versus what appeared on the screen. The comments were the worst part. Thousands of strangers would comment on my body, my hair, and my clothes, and if a hater said something mean, my mom wouldn't comfort me. She would make me film a clapback video because she said controversy boosted engagement. I remember one specific time in 8th grade when I got my first period during a meet and greet event at a mall. I was in pain, confused, and embarrassed, wanting nothing more than to go home and hide. Instead, my mother saw it as an opportunity. She forced me to film a period talk vlog right there in the bathroom stall, telling me that vulnerability sells. I was bleeding and crying, and she was checking the focus on the lens, telling me to make it look more aesthetic. School was no escape either. I wasn't allowed to join the drama club or the soccer team because injury might ruin the aesthetic, or rehearsals would conflict with filming. My peers looked at me like I was a freak or a celebrity, but never just a friend. My mom would even pay popular kids at my school to appear in my videos, just so it looked like I had a social life. I found out later that she was giving them gift cards and free merch just to hang out with me for 2 hours of filming. Imagine finding out your only friends were actually paid actors. The loneliness was a hollow ache in my chest that no amount of likes could fill. My father was a shadow in our house, a man who had long ago traded his spine for a quiet life. He worked long hours in finance, and when he came home, he just wanted peace. He'd see me crying and just pat my head, saying, "You know how your mother is, just do what she says." He was just as much of a bystander as the people watching us through their screens. By the time I turned 16, I was one of the biggest teen influencers in the country. We had a reality-style YouTube channel called The Elena and Maya Show, and our fans thought we were the perfect mother-daughter duo. But the cracks were turning into canyons. I started having panic attacks before every live session, my heart racing so fast I thought I would collapse, but she would just shove a microphone in my hand and tell me to sparkle. She started booking me for events that I hated, makeup launches for brands that used animal testing, or clothing lines that I knew were made in sweatshops. When I questioned her, she'd say, "Do you want to live in this house or do you want to live on the street? Because this house is paid for by those brands." The exploitation reached a fever pitch during a trip to Hawaii. It was billed to our followers as a relaxing family vacation. But in reality, it was a grueling 14-day content marathon. I had to change outfits 6 times a day on a public beach. I was dehydrated and exhausted, and eventually, I actually collapsed from heat exhaustion on the sand. My mom didn't call a doctor. She didn't even drop her phone. She grabbed her stabilizer, knelt down, and filmed me lying on the sand, whispering to the camera about the struggles of the grind and how hardworking I was. That was the moment something inside me snapped. I realized she didn't see a daughter. She saw a product. I was a commodity she was trading for clout and a bigger house. When we got back to the hotel, I tried to tell her I wanted to quit, that I wanted to go to a normal college and have a normal life where no one knew my name, and she laughed in my face. She told me I was ungrateful, that she had built me from nothing, and that without her, I was nothing but a plain, boring girl who would fail at everything. She threatened to kick me out the day I turned 18 with nothing to my name if I didn't keep filming. She even told me she had a morality clause in our unofficial contracts that would let her sue me if I damaged the brand. The psychological warfare was constant. She would gaslight me, telling me that the world was a dangerous place and only she could protect me, while she was the one causing the most harm. She would go through my phone every night, delete messages from anyone who tried to give me a reality check, and keep me in a bubble of her own making. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of pink glitter and artificial smiles. I began to realize that the only way to get my life back was to destroy the one thing she loved more than me: her reputation. I started wearing a hidden camera, a tiny buttonhole lens I bought with cash I'd stolen back from her purse over months. I captured the real Elena, the one who threw glass vases when a video didn't hit 1 million views in an hour, the one who called her fans mindless sheep behind their backs, and the one who joked about how easy it was to manipulate empathy for clicks. I recorded her telling me I was too fat for a denim brand deal. I recorded her admitted to buying fake followers to trick sponsors. I recorded her laughing about how she spent my college fund on a private jet rental just for a photo op. I had enough evidence to start a revolution. So here I am, standing at the edge of the cliff. I had 2 years until I was legally an adult, and I knew she would drain every last bit of my youth and my bank account before then. I had been documenting everything in secret for months. I had a hidden folder on a cloud drive filled with the raw, unedited footage she thought she had deleted. I had a choice. I could keep playing the part and lose myself forever, or I could burn the whole house down and hope I could crawl out of the ashes. Before I tell you about the night I finally hit upload on the video that ended her career and changed my life forever, I want you to stop and think about this. If you were a teenager whose entire life was controlled by a parent who loved your brand more than your soul, what would you do? Would you stay quiet to keep the peace and the money? Or would you risk everything to finally be free? Seriously, pause for a second and comment down below, because I need to know if anyone else feels the weight of that choice. Do you think a mother's ambition justifies a child's misery? Tell me your honest thoughts, because I've spent my whole life being told I'm the one who is wrong. Is blood thicker than water, even when the blood is being sold by the gallon? The night I did it, she was out at a high-end gala, probably telling some brand executive how blessed she was to have such a talented and obedient daughter. I sat in my room. The room that was really just a set with fake books and color-coordinated pillows. And I compiled all the evidence. I edited a video that showed the Instagram versus reality of our lives in the most brutal way possible. I showed her smiling for a selfie, and then cut to the footage of her slapping the phone out of my hand 2 seconds later, because I didn't hold it right. I included the audio recordings of her threatening to leave me broke if I didn't perform during my grandmother's funeral. I even included the proof that she had been faking our giving back videos, where we'd give food to the homeless only to take it back once the camera stopped rolling. I titled the video "The Truth Behind the Filter: My Life as a Human Product," and I posted it to our main channel with 5 million subscribers. I didn't just post it there. I sent the link to every major news outlet, every commentary YouTuber, and every T channel on the platform. I knew that once it was out, there was no going back. I wasn't just quitting my job. I was divorcing my mother in front of the whole world. Then, I packed a single suitcase with my actual clothes, the baggy hoodies and jeans she hated. And I went to my aunt's house in the middle of the night. My aunt was the only person who had ever seen through my mom's act. And she had been waiting for me to ask for help for years. We sat in her kitchen, watching the view count climb. It was like watching a building being demolished in slow motion. The comments were a war zone. At first, people were in denial, but as the news outlets started verifying the footage, the tide turned. By 3 a.m., #FreeMaya was trending worldwide. The next morning was absolute chaos. My mother didn't call me to apologize. She called me to scream that I had destroyed everything, and that she was going to have me arrested for theft of intellectual property. She actually believed that my life was her property. The police were called to our house because of the protesters throwing red paint on her white filming room. She tried to go live to explain her side, but the chat was so toxic she had to shut it down within seconds. Every single brands she had spent a decade courting, dropped her within 48 hours. The legal battle that followed was an absolute nightmare that lasted nearly 2 years. My mother hired the most aggressive lawyers she could find, trying to prove that I was mentally unstable, and that the footage was AI generated or manipulated. She tried to get a gag order to stop me from speaking to the press, but the sheer volume of evidence was too much. We discovered that she had diverted over $4 million from my earnings into offshore accounts I wasn't even aware of. The court case dragged on, stripping away every layer of our glamorous life. She had to sell the mansion, the cars, and the designer wardrobe just to pay her legal fees. In the end, the judge ruled in my favor, awarding me the remaining funds and a permanent restraining order. I was finally free, but the cost was the total destruction of my family. My father, unable to handle the public shame, moved to another state and barely speaks to any of us. My mother lives in a small apartment now, still trying to post TikToks that get 0 views. The aftermath was quiet, which was the weirdest part. After years of noise, cameras, and constant feedback, my life became silent. I've had to go through years of therapy to realize that my value isn't tied to a metric or a sponsorship. I'm in college now, studying psychology because I want to help other kids who have been exploited by the sharenting industry. I don't post pictures of my face anymore. I value my privacy more than anything in the world. I don't care about likes, I don't care about engagement, and I certainly don't care about brands. I just care about the fact that when I wake up in the morning, I don't have to wonder which version of me I have to be for the camera. I can just be me. It's a strange, beautiful feeling to be invisible after being a spectacle for so long. I'm learning how to eat without taking a photo, how to laugh without checking the angle, and how to trust people without wondering if they have an agenda. Looking back, I realize that the influencer life is often just a high-definition cage, especially when the person holding the key is your own parent. I lost my childhood to a screen, but I gained my future by breaking it. If there's a moral to this story, it's that no amount of money, fame, or clout is worth the price of your own identity, and family doesn't give someone a license to own your soul or exploit your trauma for a paycheck. If you think I was right to expose her and take my life back, please like this video. It helps me know that I wasn't just being dramatic or ungrateful like she always said I was. Subscribe to the channel for more stories about people who finally decided to speak their truth against all odds. And please, share your thoughts in the comments section below. Have you ever felt pressured by your parents to be someone you aren't? Have you ever had to make a choice that felt like burning your whole world down just to breathe? I'll be reading through your responses because your support truly means the world to me. Thanks for listening to my story, and I'll see you all in the next one.